I've been filming weddings since 2017 and I think I've come a long way since then. So today I just wanted to share with you my process on how I create these cinematic wedding videos. If you're new here, hi, I'm Rena. I'm a videographer and content creator, and I just like to make these beginner-friendly tutorials to make filmmaking feel a little less intimidating, because I know when I was starting off, it was just like a lot to learn and it can get really confusing. Just a quick note, this is going to be a little bit longer than my usual tutorials because I really want to dive in, show specific examples, and really give you the type of guidance that I wish I had when I was starting out. So hopefully by the end of the video, you'll be able to learn something. It all started with a mindset shift. I stopped thinking of it as a wedding video, but a wedding film. I know it sounds a little bit silly and too simple, but I do think this little mindset shift will make a difference. Oftentimes when we start, we kind of fall into the trap of picking a popular song and just cutting to the beat of the music, and you kind of get this like montagey, generic edit that has no feeling. So I just started to ask myself, if this was a film, how would it start? Where does the story begin? First, let's go over the gear. Ideally, you're gonna have 3 cameras at least, but if you're just starting out, you're probably just gonna have 1, and that's totally fine. I'm just gonna share the gear we have and how I use each one. Please note, we did not start with this. This is what we've collected over the years. Jack has been filming since 2013, and we're always buying, selling, and fine-tuning our gear list as the years go by. But it's just so you have an idea of what a professional wedding company might have. So let me just share our most recent setup. Setup A, this is what I'm on the A7S III on a 35 to 150 millimeter. It has a variable ND filter and a shotgun mic on. I'm usually on a monopod. This is my main camera that I'll basically use all day with weddings. You don't always have the time to be switching out lenses, so this lens is kind of perfect. It gives you the flexibility of being on a 35 millimeter to get into tight spaces like during the getting ready portion, and you can get tighter shots for the ceremony and reception speeches. Setup B, this is what Jack is on. He's on an A7S III on a 55mm with a variable ND filter on, and he shoots on a gimbal. He'll basically use this to get all the pretty shots we need for the getting ready, the portraits, details, ceremony, and the reception program. We really like this lens, especially for portraits. It just gets the couple like so perfectly in focus, and I just love the look of it. So that's our 2 main cameras, and then I have 2 additional cameras that I basically use just for the ceremony and reception program. Setup C is on the A7 III on a 70 to 200 millimeter. This is usually the groom's angle for the ceremony. It's just Jack and I, so I set this up, and once the groom is up at the front, I focus on him, and then I run to the front to capture the bride walking down the aisle. And then for our last setup, we have the FX30 on a 28 to 75 millimeter. This is the center angle during the ceremony, so I can cut to it as a backup. I also use this for the reception to get a wider shot during the speeches while I capture the tight shot of the speaker with my setup. So that's the camera setups, and then for the accessories that I usually use, I have 3 tripods, 3 Sennheiser lavalier mics, video lights, audio cables, and rain covers in case it rains. I think the audio is the most important because you can hook that up with a DJ and get a much more clear sound compared to just having a lav mic. We usually just put that up for backup or for the first look, but if you can get like the direct clear audio from the mic, that will be so much better. We usually bring a 1/4 inch, an XLR, or RCA. One of these will usually work, and we have the Zoom F3 and our Sennheiser setup to transmit the signal to our camera. Of course, this is just an example setup. You don't have to follow this to a T, but if you are interested in some of the gear, I'll just list it in the description box so you can take a look. If you're looking for other options, I do have a couple tips. When choosing a camera, I would go with something that can handle low light because you're filming all day and you don't always have the luxury of lighting a scene properly. Getting ready locations can sometimes be dark, or you might be filming a ceremony in a chapel where they don't allow you to set up lights. It's also worth getting something with good autofocus because you don't want to be manually focusing during the kiss and miss the shot. You can't redo a lot of things for weddings, so you just want to like minimize the potential for error. If I had to choose one setup to go with, I would probably go with setup A because it's the most versatile. Okay, that was a lot. I hope you're following along, but now I have some filming tips, and I'm not gonna go over everything because it's just gonna get even longer, but I'm just gonna give you some tips as if You were hired at my company and you're my third shooter. Number 1, always think of filming in sequences. So for example, if I was like, okay, can you go shoot the groom? I'm expecting something like a wide shot of his best man helping him with the tux, a medium shot of him helping with a tie, a tight shot of the groom fixing his watch. You don't want to make the mistake of just trying to get coverage of everything and everything is in a medium shot, because I'm not going to be able to do anything with that in the edit. It's going to feel very jumpy. And that doesn't mean like you have to have the groom do the same motion 3 times of putting on the tux, but try to get a variety as the action is changing, so then it's a whole sequence. And lastly, if you have some extra time, I would try to get some creative shots. My favorite thing to do is to look for a reflection somewhere in the room like this. Lighting can be a little bit tricky because you don't always have the time to light. I usually try to find a window of natural light and place the subject near there, and then face and body slightly angled towards the light. For the reception, I usually prop up a light for the speeches and for any of the dances or performances. And I like to get this backlit shot because they usually look nice. I feel like this one isn't talked about enough, but I would try to be mindful of camera movement. Even we sometimes get stuck filming on a gimbal all day, which is fine if you're just limited on time, but I feel like it can start to feel very mechanical, stiff, and kind of missing that human raw element. That's why I really like to go handheld or on a monopod if possible, because it starts to feel a little bit more like a documentary. Let me give you a quick example from this wedding. The groom was doing a surprise Armenian tradition. Jack was on the inside with the bride, and I was on the outside with the groom.
Where's my wife at?
Hey.
Hold on. Open the door. Hey. I'm here for my wife, bro.
No, you have to wait.
Where's my wife?
No, she's here, but
We're
you're not
getting
allowed
married.
to see her.
Rosetta.
You have to wait. Be patient.
He's doing the Armenian traditional thing. Oh no, I can't. No, don't cry. It's okay, it's fine. You scared me.
We're getting married today.
You have to wait.
I'm gonna take my wife to the altar.
No, you
I'm gonna
have
drive
to
her
wait.
up there.
All right. How about this, man? How about that? Come on, we got some cash for you, man.
Oh, nice.
Just
Thank
give
you,
my
guys.
boy a look.
Take it. Take it off.
I can tell like you're ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Is she ready?
Yeah.
Let me talk to her at least. I want to talk to you before the altar. So. All right. I love you.
Wait on him.
At least we got a look.
Fuck, this is hitting me, man.
A little touch.
As you can see, there's a lot of camera movement. The focus is kind of in and out, but it makes it feel very intimate and raw, which is what I'm really drawn towards. Not every couple is going to be comfortable in front of the camera. I mean, like, how many of us are used to having videographers and photographers follow us all day, right? So you can have some like prompts to help them feel a little bit more comfortable. For video, we usually need at least 5 seconds, so I'll think of actions like walk towards us, but try your best to pretend that we're not here, talk to each other about something you're looking forward to today, or something like just take a deep breath and look into each other's eyes. I know there's a lot going on, but just take this moment in for a second. These are kind of my go-to. And lastly, if you can, try to film the in-between moments too, because you might find that you can capture a little bit more of their personality.
I can't stop crying. What is wrong with me? I don't know.
Oh, baby.
Okay, so that's all the filming stuff. And next, this is where all the magic happens, my personal favorite part, the editing. It can honestly be very daunting when starting because you probably have so much footage and it's overwhelming and you don't know where to start. So let me just show you my personal approach to editing. First of all, organization is everything. I organize everything by camera, and I also color code by event like this. I would say just come up with a system that works for your brain and stick with it. So what do I do to start editing? I just put on a podcast and then I just organize all the B-roll first. So I'm just cutting off all the unnecessary movement. Just don't overthink it. It's the first pass. Then I sync up the audio for the ceremony and speeches. I listen through and note the moments that might be usable. Then I lay out a rough story using these ceremony and speeches. You can ask yourself, what's the most interesting speech or a moment? What feels the most them? It might even be their first look or a thank you speech. It kind of just depends on the couple. Now that I have this rough layout, I go back to the B-roll and start building sequences. I usually shoot for 3 to 5 shots per sequence. For example, this is one sequence from the bride getting ready. Maybe the pre-ceremony sequence might look like this. And then I just make a bunch of these little sequences so I have like my favorite shots ready to use whenever I'm like looking for specific B-roll, because it can really get lost in all the footage that you have. Now this is where everything comes together, and not to be dramatic, but this part can really make or break your edit. If you don't choose the right song, all the work that you put in will go down the drain. I actually remember Jack and I like sitting in our office and debating if we should switch to music bed or not. And mind you, this is long before they knew about us and they sponsored us or anything. But we were like in the stage where we're really starting to hone in on our craft, experiment with different lenses, and it felt like our footage was improving, but something was still off. So I would study other wedding videographers and look at the shots they were getting, and it looked similar to the ones that we were getting, but theirs felt like different for some reason. And I sat and like thought about it, and I was like, it's the music. Our cinematography was improving, but the music quality was just not keeping up. So I want to share one of the first films that I made when we made the switch to music bed. And I think this was 5 to 6 years ago, but this video is really close to my heart because it was when I felt like everything kind of clicked for me. It was the first time I was experimenting with something more dramatic, and since they had a lot of traditional elements in their wedding, I really wanted a song that would naturally elevate that vibe. So I searched under atmospheric, suspense, world, and this is how the intro turned out.
On the planet Earth, in the land east of Mount Meru, in the country known as the United States of America, on the island of Oahu, with auspicious conjunctions, and all the planets being benevolently bestowed for the perpetuation of both lineages and in order to gratify all the ancestors through worthy children that will be born of this union, to achieve all the goals of life as stated in the Shastras, for the pleasure of Lakshmi Narayana, we now perform this great act known as Kanya Dana, giving away of the bride.
Geetika, it has been an incredible journey to get to where we are today. When I tell our story to people, it might appear like our long-distance journey was not easy. The seemingly endless number of plane rides, both to travel the world and to be part of each other's day-to-day lives. But all of this that looks like it should be hard was not at all. Because from day one, you have been baked into my being, like a part of my soul that never wasn't there. Being with you, or even just thinking about you, has always felt like being at home. A feeling so deeply comforting and embedded in me that it can hardly be described as a distinct feeling at all.
You're beautiful.
Thank you.
One thing I did notice after switching to music bed was that I wasn't spending days looking for music, and I was starting to enjoy the process. It opened up so many more options because even the songs with lyrics are so good.
Mama, what you say this time? My heart is pounding, what could possibly go?
Because they're actually not a music library or catalog, but a music license agency. So these are real songs. I'm serious, I really do wish I switched to music bed earlier because it was day and night. If you want to try it out, you can switch to music bed and start creating content that truly connects. Sign up for your 14-day free trial today using the link in my description box. Some final tips for editing: I would try to let scenes breathe a little bit. This is something I didn't do early on. I was just like, okay, vows, speeches, and then it just feels a little cluttered. But if you let the scenes breathe a little bit more, it feels more like a movie, like it's not just dialogue the whole time. There should be moments where the viewer can take the visuals in. And also, don't feel like you have to include everything that you filmed in the edit. I know it hurts a little bit to let go of these beautiful shots that you got, but if it doesn't serve the story, you don't have to force yourself to put it in. Okay, stay with me guys. I know it's getting very long, but we can't overlook the color grading. And I personally can't go over the color grading too much because I suck at color grading. But my husband slash business partner slash colorist, Jack, spent a lot of time learning how to color grade. So if you look at our earlier work, this is what it looked like. Jack took courses, watched countless YouTube videos, experimented with different styles, and he's always continuing to practice with our own YouTube content as well. So the color grading got better and more stylized. It did not happen overnight, and he's still trying to learn and get better. We film in S-Log3 since we use our Sony cameras, and when filming on S-Log, we slightly overexpose and we bring it down in post. We use DaVinci Resolve for coloring and editing, and I always say this, I'm not sponsored by them, but there is a free version that you can check out. But if you do want more effects like the ones that we use in our color grading, you do have to get the studio version. But it is a one-time purchase, so I do think it's definitely worth it. Lastly, you know how they say fix it in post? You can definitely do that, but if you can get it done right the first time around, it's just gonna save so much time. I think the main thing is getting your exposure right. So if the footage is blown, you can't recover it. If it's too dark, it'll be super grainy. So try to expose correctly by looking at the histogram or turning on the zebras in your camera settings. The other thing is white balance. Fixing white balance in post is kind of a nightmare, especially if you have to match clips. So always try to manually white balance. Oh, okay, we made it through the video. I hope you were able to find something that resonated with you, something to learn through this whole video because it was very long. It seriously took me years to get to where I am now, and I'm still not where I want to be at. So if you're just starting out and you're looking at my stuff and you're like, oh my god, I wish I filmed like her, just know that it took a while to get here. And even when you get here, you're gonna look at like other people and you're gonna be like, oh, I want to get there. So it's a constant work in progress, and you're not gonna get good unless you film and practice. So don't get discouraged. Like, it's not gonna look perfect on the first go. Well, maybe for some of you, but for most of us, like, it's a process and an ongoing process. And I think that's the whole joy of being a creative person, is that you're never really done. So don't get discouraged, you know, just keep going. One of the things that really helped when I was starting out is after I finished an edit, Jack and I would sit down and screen the edit. And it's a very, very scary and vulnerable thing to do in the beginning, because it's like you put all this effort into this edit, and when someone is giving you feedback on your work, it feels like they're criticizing you, but you just have to separate yourself from the work. Like, I learned this in film school. Like, they're not trying to criticize you, you know, they're just trying to take note on what they notice as a viewer. And because you've been like working for hours on this edit, there's just things you're gonna miss that a first-time viewer can notice and take note of. So try to get someone else to watch, you know, and give you feedback. I think that will go a long way. Again, I know it's a little bit scary, but I promise it'll make you a better filmmaker. Okay, so that's it for the tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're someone that's been looking for my vlogs, I'm so sorry that it's been back-to-back tutorials, but the weather here in Hawaii has been crazy, just storm after storm, and there's like another storm coming this weekend, so it's just been kind of like funky weather and not really great for filming. But I do want to get out there, film on my iPhone a little bit more, so stay tuned for those. Filming with a baby has been a huge challenge, obviously. Just like trying to keep my focus has been very difficult, I think, because like Jack and I will take turns, and if I hear her cry for a second, I'm just like, oof, like my focus just like out the window. So it just takes like so long to film these days. Just trying to get my words out has been very, very difficult. Okay, I think that's enough rambling. Thank you so much for watching this video. And again, if you do want to check out MusicBed and try it out, there is a 14-day free trial in the description box. Just test it out with a new video that you might have and see how it goes. But I guess that's it for this one. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.